Dusk lays copper light on the ridge. A thorn bush catches fire without consuming. Heat shimmers, insects still. I glance at the animals, counting them by habit, as if numbers could steady my gut. The flame threads itself like gold wire through green, refusing to end. My name lands in the air with impossible intimacy. No footfall, no figure, only presence. I'm back in two places at once, palace corridors and desert stone. My fingers tighten on the staff until knuckles pale. The sheep look up, then lower their heads, unbothered. Take off your sandals. Dust blooms when leather lifts. The ground feels alive like a drumhead right before a strike. My toes press warm grit. The ridiculous becomes reverent in a breath. I step closer, each heartbeat a small confession. Command collides with history. Go back to Egypt. Images flicker, river bricks, whips a face I buried in sand. The word back tastes metallic. I want to say I'm a shepherd now that ordinary is safer than memory. The bush burns on patient. I argue the numbers. Who am I? Answer not who, but with. Presence instead of resume. It isn't the reassurance I asked for, but it's the one that lingers. The flame hums soft like a chorus under conversation. What's in your hand? A staff, plain acacia, polished by years. Throw it. Wood hits dirt, coils. Instinct jumps me backward. Fear pulls a laugh from my throat. Pick it up. I do, and the wildness quiets into wood again, the ordinary newly strange. A second sign, skin turned winter white, then healed warm brown in a blink. Power that rearranges what is broken and what is feared. My stomach flips. I've seen tricks. This isn't trick. This is persuasion aimed at a stubborn heart, mostly mine. I say the thing I hate saying. I'm slow of speech. The admission scrapes like a dry cough. The reply is not a correction, but a companionship. I will be with your mouth. I imagine standing before polished stone and painted eyes, my words arriving with another's weight. Night edges in. Zipporah waits in lamplight outside the tent brow, already asking questions. I tell her between pauses the way I always tell hard things. Her hand finds mine, squeezes once. She doesn't promise easy. She promises with presence. Before dawn, I pack the staff and the ordinary tools, rope, waterskin, a stubborn hope. The path toward Egypt is a dark ribbon across pale sand. The bush is only a bush again. I leave footprints that look like anyone's and a yes that will not. Pre-dawn breath smokes from the animals. I tie the last pack and check it twice. The lamp's small circle of light shakes when the wind tests the tent ropes. Egypt is somewhere beyond the ridge, but this morning is only knots, buckles, and the decision not to think too far. Jethro stands with that steady shepherd stillness. He doesn't list dangers. I know them. He simply places his palm on my shoulder and says, "Keep your people alive." The blessing lands heavier than armor and easier to carry. I nod, unable to answer without breaking something in my throat. Zipporah's questions map the road more honestly than any traveler's tale. Where do the boys ride? How many days between wells? Who escorts us through checkpoints? We bargain logistics like merchants, grain for oil, fear for plan. Love doesn't cancel risk, it budgets it. I rehearse sentences to the cliffs, letting rock correct my breath. Words feel like jars, lift, hold, set down. A flock startles, then settles. The animal bell is a metronome for my pacing. I speak the name I dread addressing, and the name doesn't shatter me. Progress measured in syllables. The shelter is 3 walls and generosity. Night pours in anyway. One boy wakes burning and coughing like the desert is inside him. The world shrinks to a cup of water, a damp cloth, the slow count between breaths. I promise everything and nothing to the dark. Heat loosens its fist by dawn. His skin cools beneath my hand. Zipporah's eyes are rimmed with red, fierce and relieved. She binds a strip of linen around my forearm, ritual by another name. We go together, she says. The words stabilize the ground more than the sandals do. A caravan passes, heading away from the river. traders with tidy columns of numbers in their heads. A woman balances a jar with a grace I will never learn. I feel ridiculous wanting their ordinariness. A midlife change reads like courage to strangers and like inconvenience to your joints. We pick a path stitched with goat prints. The boys play a game with rules they keep revising. I think about Aaron, how his words slide where mine clatter. Partnership is not weakness, it is a bridge you decide to trust. I keep practicing anyway because bridges still need footfalls. From the ridge, the land tilts green. Date palms like hands lifted in mid-prayer. The smell changes less, dust more, water memory. My pulse argues with itself. The last time I crossed this edge, I was running. Now I walk toward the thing I ran from, which feels like running in reverse. We camp within sight of boundary markers, carved stone, old warnings. I turn the staff in my hands until the wood warms. Behind me, the familiar chorus of family settling. Ahead, a silence that looks like polished floors. I ask the dark a small question, will my mouth hold? The antechamber breathes cool air heavy with resin and damp stone. Sun bars cut the floor into gold ladders. I rehearse the first line without moving my lips. Aaron's glance says steady. The doors open with a practiced sigh and the room turns to look as if we've interrupted a ceremony. A herald folds our names into a scroll of titles and protocol. Officials in linen whiten to impossible brightness make narrow notes with reed pens. The silence is curated. I'm aware of my sandals, of the dust they've carried here, of how out of place earnestness looks on marble. I lift my speech like a jar I'm not sure I can hold. The first word stumbles and rights itself. Aaron steps forward, voice even, tone hospitable but unbending. My job in this breath is to stand and not apologize for existing. I grip the staff until it speaks splinters to my palm. Questions arrive polished: who authorizes, who benefits, who loses production hours. The room smiles as if at bright children. I answer in short, true sentences. You can't win a debate about the worth of breath. You can only say men are choking and keep saying it. We show what we've brought enough to focus attention, not enough to entertain. Experts lean in eager to reproduce and outdo. Performance distracts from policy. I feel the pull and let it pass. The point is not spectacle. The point is freedom measured in shoulders, relaxing. Refusal arrives sweet, then hard, like dates with pits that crack teeth. The words outline increased quotas and call it incentive. The room nods, pleased with itself. I can see the day getting longer for people who already ran out of day. I picture a brick falling out of someone's hands from pure tired. Outside, heat slaps the skin awake. Foremen climb the steps 2 at a time, breath sharp. Their eyes argue before their mouths do. You spoke for us and made it worse, one says. He's not wrong about the worse. Pain loves to aim and we are convenient targets. We stand and let the anger spend itself. Aaron takes a step closer, palms open. I answer only what I can answer. Explanations don't cool aback. The crowd thins into smaller arguments. Sand sticks to the sweat at my temple. This is the cost of knocking on big doors. In a narrow shade, I argue upward, not out loud, but with everything. Why bring me here to watch pain multiply? The question is a real thing, a weight. The answer for now is presence, not plan. I exhale like a man who has to carry the next mile anyway. We walk away from this palace, not retreating, just choosing a different angle. Children chase each other along the wall, laughter unfussed by policy. A woman lifts water from a jar, wrist strong. Tomorrow is already forming, as stubborn as sun. I tighten the wrap on my staff hand and keep moving. Mist threads the river like unspooled silk. Oars kiss water, nets arc and fall. Reeds whisper against one another. I stand ankle deep in silt, rehearsing shorter sentences. Aaron scans the bank, measuring moods. The day pretends to be normal, a few breaths longer than it deserves. We speak the warning without drama. A guard leans on his spear, bored and suspicious. A fisher looks up, hope and sarcasm sharing his face. My words land heavy and uneven. Errands travel clean. No thunder, no trumpets, just the kind of truth that knocks once and waits. Color lifts from the current as if the river is remembering something it never wanted to. The surface darkens, then blooms into iron. Fish rise, flutter once, then still. A smell like metal and rot walks the length of the bank. Conversations thin into the sound of breath. A jar slips from someone's hands and bursts on stone. Children stare at cups they were told always to trust. A woman sets her bundle down with careful rage. Across the water, two boats collide, men swearing at fate because it listens more than officials do. Panic finds its chorus. Courtiers arrive with a certainty I envy. Scribes start columns. Experts perform smaller copies in bowls. The crowd murmurs at the trick, hungry for proof that nothing serious is happening. The bowl turns color. The river doesn't care. Pride counts toward nothing useful in a thirst. Men and women dig into the bank, carving trenches. Mud cakes fingernails and forearms like work bracelets. They chase clear seepage the way a rumor runs through a neighborhood text thread. Every scoop is an argument with fear. I want to help with my hands, and know my hands aren't the point. An elder from our camp walks past, eyes lit with accusation and exhaustion. This is the cost, he asks, voice low. Behind him, a boy licks cracked lips. I have answers about stubborn power and necessary signs. I do not have enough water to make those answers kind. In a shaded doorway, I pray because leadership without prayer turns into performance. The city moves around me, donkeys snort. A seller covers baskets, a guard scratches at the lacquer on his shield. I ask for softened hearts and for my own to stay soft while waiting. Evening drapes itself over roofs. Fires burn careful and small. The river carries its dark sentence into the distance. Parents invent bedtime stories where rivers heal overnight. Aaron sits beside me without speaking, the kind of company that tells you he heard your unasked question. Night cools the skin, but not the questions. I turn the staff in my hands until the grain warms. Somewhere a child coughs dry and stubborn. I picture tomorrow walking toward us on bare feet, patient as sand. I ask the dark will, a heart turn before a city breaks. Dusk slides down walls. Smoke hovers under eaves. Kneading bowls hit wood steady as drums. I move with Aaron, repeating instructions until they feel like muscle memory. Doorposts are measured with a careful eye. Faith narrows to a doorway, and a dinner you eat faster than stories can catch up. A father blocks the alley with worry on his arms. Flour marks his skin like pale vines. Is this enough? He whispers. I answer with what I was given. Do the simple thing exactly. He swallows, nods once, and turns back inside, choosing precision over reassurance. A kitchen glows like a small sun. A mother moves fast blade, clean bread, cut before it can rise into comfort. A girl counts plates like they're checkpoints. A grandmother folds keepsakes into a cloth without nostalgia. The room smells of meat smoke and leaving. Neighbors trade details and salt. One door is courage, another lends calm. Miriam slides between households, tying knots, tightening straps, cracking jokes that land like steady hands. Aaron murmurs numbers, his mind a ledger for people rather than grain. The hum of preparation is a choir without melody. In the official quarter, footsteps ring like hollow promises. A runner passes with a face built of orders. We duck back under low ceilings and check our own lists. Staff belt sandals, waterskin silence. The body knows how to pack when the soul understands urgency. A child asks why we eat standing. Because waiting is a luxury, I say, easing the edge with a smile. He takes the hint and the bread. We eat in a circle that isn't leisure, it's formation. The taste is plain and decisive, like answering yes and then moving. Midnight thickens. The city's pulse slows to a long, tense measure. Somewhere far, grief finds its voice and teaches the air a new note. We do not move. The mark on our door dries into a sentence I cannot improve. Zipporah's hand finds mine and stays. Silence grows, edges. A clay cup trembles on a table and settles. I pray with my eyes open for homes, for hearts, for the will to obey when explanation is thin. The room feels like a held breath, the kind before diving or singing the first note. A fist on wood, the order every captive rehearses privately and never expects to hear. Go! The word tilts the house. People become motion, bundles become backs. We lift, we wrap, we do not search for anything heavy. The floor keeps our footprints the way memory keeps vows. The door opens to air-washed cool. The alley pours toward the main road, a quiet river of families and resolve. Stars feel nearer. Someone laughs once from relief more than humor. I look back at the mark, then forward at the dark, and step into both. Night air salts our tongues. The sea glows dull pewter under a moon worn thin. Far behind a smear of dust signals wheels and certainty. The pillar thickens into a sheer wall of cloud and fire, a weather front with intent. People shift from whispers to questions that want leaders and exits. Arguments ignite like tinder, hills, surrender, blame. A boy clutches a clay toy. His father counts options with his jaw. I feel my old body reach for the old solution run anywhere. The presence holds the ground like a hand on my shoulder. I raise the staff as if naming a door. Wind sharpens, cloaks snap, firelight bends sideways, sand peels into skittering sheets. A sound like braided breath swells across the water. The surface tugs apart and hesitates, then commits. A dark line forms between moving walls. The camp goes quiet the way crowds hush at stadium anthems. The path reveals itself in ridges and hollows. I test it heel, then toe staff first. It holds. Cold flares through my soles. Fish flash in vertical galleries beside us. Someone laughs once, not from humor, but from shock that includes joy. We step where logic said we wouldn't. We sort by rhythm's elders with patient steps, mothers balancing bundles and babies, young men pushing carts that complain in wooden syllables. The walls breathe a resonance in the ribs. I keep the pace human, not heroic. This is not a race. It is a leaving that requires lungs. Spray freckles our faces while the wind bites like mint. Shells crunch under sandals, then smear into paste. A girl reaches out and touches the water, gasps, pulls back, grinning through terror. Two strangers lift a limping man between them. We make a small city on the move. Behind us, metal finds mud. The sound of hooves stutters into confusion, then anger. The pillar leans harder, buying us minutes no one can quantify. Ahead, the corridor narrows, then widens. I speak distance in simple words. 10 more ridges, then a flat stretch. Heads nod. Steps answer. Modern memories collide with ancient salt office exits. Glowing in smoky drills, emails that scatter teams like leaves. Decisions made 3 floors up that feel like armies at your back. The path doesn't fix any of that. It teaches feet to choose forward, while hands learn to steady others. The sky lifts from charcoal to iron blue. The far bank shapes itself low dunes, tough grass gulls like punctuation marks. People begin to believe with their calves instead of their ears. The last 100 steps taste like metal and hope. Breath returns in longer ropes. We spill onto sand that doesn't move the wind, suddenly friend instead of force. The corridor gathers itself and seals, unremarkable, as if nothing happened. Sound breaks open, shouted names falling to knees. 1,000 private prayers letting go of their fists. I lean on the staff and ask the day, what kind of free will we be? The dunes vibrate in heat haze. Tongues stick to the roofs of mouths. We find a pool and drink like runners, then recoil at the metallic bite. Faces swing toward me, accusation glazed with fear. I ask upward and receive a small, specific instruction. Bitter eases into drinkable. Relief arrives with the hush after a slammed door. Dawn lays a pale veil on the ground. It isn't frost, but it behaves like it. As the sun lifts, flakes glint like the memory of rain. People bend curious, turned careful. I taste a piece sweet grain and wind. Hungry eyes brighten. A day can turn on a mouthful. I give the rule collect for today. Enough not hoard. A woman measures handfuls against her child's appetite. A man wants certainty packed in baskets. We weigh the difference between prudence and fear. The desert has opinions about both. Baskets fill with a sound like pages turning. Someone piles extra in a corner out of old habits. By sunrise it sulks, sour and moving. A sharp, embarrassed laugh burns his throat. The lesson smells worse than it looks. He brings the spoiled heap to me in both hands, and I say nothing. He already heard everything. Evening cools. Quail scatter into camp like punctuation marks after a long sentence. Children chase. Mothers scold with smiles. The air tastes like roasted gratitude. We eat without greed, surprised by the kindness of protein after a day of sweetness. The horizon learns to exhale again. A dry day returns Rephidim stones and stubborn sun. Complaint gathers mass. You led us here to thirst. Someone spits. I feel the accusation like gravel in my sandal. Instruction comes odd simple. I strike where told, and water shoulders out of stone clear as an apology that means it. We establish rhythm mornings with baskets evenings, with cook fires a day for stillness. Miriam hums work songs that organize more than time. Aaron adjusts counts to match reality, not fear. I walk the perimeter, listening for gaps, hunger, loneliness, anger, the empty places, provision needs to find. I think of bank balances glowing blue on screens of grocery halls posted like trophies of pantries that prove we matter. The flakes melt on my tongue and conduct a quieter math. Today's enough. Tomorrow's enough. My hands unclench by increments I can't brag about, which might be the point. A child asks whether the bread falls because we deserve it. I tell him gifts don't check resumes. He pockets a piece for someone who stayed in their tent. The small economy of kindness outperforms our ledgers. I want to remember this the next time fear starts writing policy. Night settles with fewer worries tapping the tent wall. The camp dozes in the trustworthy fatigue of people who ate enough. I turn the staff in my fingers, feeling the grooves memorize my grip. The question returns gentler, can we keep walking at the pace of daily mercy? Cloud swallows peak. Thunder travels underfoot like a slow animal. The camp forms a crescent of caution. I taste metal on my tongue. The air smells like rain and flint. Someone whispers that the mountain is breathing. I say nothing. Breath is exactly what it feels like. Draw, hold, release. We lay stones for a boundary and tie cord between them. A boy tests the line with one sandaled toe. His mother reels him back, apology and anger sharing her face. I kneel and tell him boundaries are like fire pits. They make warmth possible without burning down the tent. Elders climb with me steps measured for dignity, not speed. Wind grabs at cloaks and steals any sentence longer than a phrase. We eat simple bread that tastes better up here, like hunger's been clarified. The cloud flashes white on white like lightning finding privacy. Below, Aaron turns fear into assignments. Water there, wood there. Miriam's organizing hands move crowds like a gentle current. People ask what makes us us now. I say names, promises, and shared lines. They want something they can touch. I point to the mountain and then to each other. The frame arrives as sentences that feel like doors, not locks. No other gods. Carry the name like it can break. Learn to stop time one day a week. Honor what raised you. Tell the truth even when stories pay better. The words sit in us heavy in a good way. A man's jaw tightens. Rules are chains, he says. I hand him my staff. Try walking a straight mile in dunes without a line. He returns it after 20 paces, laughing despite himself. Some arguments need sand more than logic. He nods, and we both pretend it was a debate. Higher up, the sound changes to forge noise, strike, hiss. I'm shown shapes, a lamp with almond petals, a box that carries testimony curtains with threads that catch light, like water. The patterns feel like invitations, not demands. Beauty has a way of making obedience look like art. Artisans come forward with shy bravado. A weaver tests a dye pot with a fingertip and grins purple. A carver turns acacia and listens to what the wood wants to be. We measure twice, we tell jokes, we correct gently. The work becomes a kind of singing. Night lowers its lid. The mountain glows under a cloud like an ember in a palm. Children fall asleep mid-sentence. Adults practice new words under their breath until they fit. The boundary line looks less like a fence and more like a porch rail, something to lean on while telling stories. Alone with the quiet, I rehearse the frame time, truth, fidelity, contentment. I think of modern buildings with evacuation maps nobody reads, until smoke arrives of teams that only behave when culture is written down. I ask the dark for a heart that keeps the letter because it loves the music. Laughter rides the wind wrong. It's bright with nothing underneath. I balance 2 tablets against my forearms, feeling their chill even through cloth. The cloud behind me hums with promise. The valley below hums with something quicker and thinner. I start down each step, a rehearsal for a conversation I don't want. Joshua appears, where the path narrows, hand on hilt by habit. Battle, he asks, reading the noise like footprints. I shake my head. Not war celebration turned sideways. We match pace the mountain, throwing our breath back at us. The music grows teeth and glitter. My grip tightens on stone. The camp opens like a wound. A polished calf catching firelight bodies, orbiting voices, whipped into a festival that forgot its reason. Dust jumps under dancing feet. A few faces flinch when they see me, most don't. The tablets tug my arms down with an honesty that hurts. I choose to let them fall. Stone meets stone and explodes into truth that words can't carry. Conversation drains from the air. A child stops mid-clap, hands hovering. The calf's shine looks suddenly cheap under the quiet. I feel the echo in my ribs, the first full breath in an hour. I face Aaron. He looks older in one afternoon than in a year of desert. He talks about panic, about people needing to see something, about a fire that somehow organized gold into a god. I don't raise my voice, I just ask questions until he runs out of sentences. The music stops. The crowd fragments into defensiveness and shame. We do triage, pull back the people who will listen, cool the heads that are still hot, stake the line where community ends and stampede begins. Consequences land. Grief is loud in the corners where pride just stood. When the camp quiets, I climb again with nothing in my hands, which feels right. Words are heavier than stone. I argue upwards with the bluntness of a man who ran out of diplomatic phrasing. If presents won't come, we shouldn't move an inch. Silence answers, then name, then the kind weight of mercy. On the ledge, I'm told to stand inside safety and not see more than my eyes can carry. Goodness passes like weather with intent. The rock warms beneath my palms. I learn again that closeness is gift and guardrail. I carry the echo in bones, not pocket. I return glowing in ways I don't feel. People look away and then look back carefully. We veil my face for the ordinary work of organizing humans without blinding them. Light should lead us, not become another spectacle. New tablets, same commands, different hearts, I hope. Artisans pick up tools. Mothers teach children a song with guardrails in it. I touch the edge of the calf's former pedestal and imagine it as a table for bread. We start building again, wary and grateful. The river writes silver on morning. Reeds whisper their thin applause. Camp stirs in rows, fires coaxed knots. Checked sandals tightened. Jericho's outline blurs like a memory you're almost ready to tell. I taste dust and date sweetness. Today smells like departure even though our feet haven't moved. Under a low cloth, I meet Joshua before the camp starts asking us to be louder than their fear. He doesn't ask for secrets, he asks for steadiness. I place both hands on his shoulders and feel the ache of weight transfer. Courage is a muscle that learns other hands. We face the people with wind tugging at cloaks. Some eyes shine, some squint as if light itself were suspicious. I say the words I needed. Once succession is fidelity, not replacement. The staff in my palm remembers every mile, an old friend deciding when to let go. Elders squat and draw in dust. A river line crossing points order of march. Captains count families by tens, 50s, hundreds. Reuben and Gad speak for homes east of water, pledging to cross armed and return after. Loyalty gets measured in routes and return dates, not just volume. I speak. Blessings shaped to backs and foreheads. Work that won't crush rest, that actually restores courage. That doesn't perform mercy, that doesn't run dry. Mothers absorb details like accountants with kinder ledgers. Children try on words the way they try on cloaks and grow into them mid-evening. We teach a song that is really a scaffold, names and warnings turned into cadence. Scribes ink carefully, then blow the lines dry. I tell them to staple memory to ordinary places, doors, schedules, small talk. You can't improvise a culture every morning, you have to write it. My tent holds less than it used to, bundles given away, extra tools handed off. The staff waits patient. I run a thumb along grooves polished by years and hear the road inside the wood. Leaving is a craft. You do it on purpose, you clean your workbench. The climb to Nebo is small and honest. Stones click underfoot like beads. I stop where wind presses the cloak flat and not much else. The air tastes like iron and rain that hasn't. I listen for regret and let it finish speaking before I keep going. The land opens a quilt sewn from river shine, olive green, and sun-browned squares. I catalog gifts. I will not manage harvest calendars, festivals that smell like cinnamon, and smoke arguments about where to plant more figs. I let my throat tighten and do not unlatch it with speeches. I set the staff on a flat stone as if shelving a tool at day's end. Down below, Joshua's voice gathers the camp into motion. The river gathers light. I whisper a blessing into the wind where no one needs to hear it but me. Beauty holds. I turn toward the presence and rest.